Hello, litigators and opinionators. Court is now in session. So there has been a small update in the Shanquella Robinson case. As you guys are aware, this tragedy happened several months ago. Hasn't seemed to be any progress from the FBI filing any charges or anything, and it's getting quite frustrating. The community is frustrated. Everybody's outraged. And I've been talking about for a while that there needs to be some type of protest or a march. And it looks like there's actually there is a $1,000 letter Mexican march coming up very soon that I wanted to talk about in North Carolina. And it was put on by the Million Youth March of Charlotte Salisbury Teen Advisory Board. This is the same organization that put together the rally that we talked about several weeks ago. There was a rally that was put together to advocate for justice for Shanquella. Well, we've seen that there's been no progress in this tragedy. So this same organization has put together a 1,000-letter march. And I'll talk about what the march is about. And if you are in the North Carolina area, or if you'd like to write a letter to participate, it should have the information here. So here's the flyer that's on their Facebook. It says, "Fight for Shanquella Robinson, 1,000 or more letters to Mexico march. Join along with the family of Shanquella Robinson Saturday, February 18th, 2023 and I give you the exact address, 12 noon, starting at Little Rock at Mount Zion Church, AME Zion Church. And the address is 401 North McDowell Street, Charlotte, North Carolina. And basically what they're going to be doing is marching to the post office on McDowell Street. And they have all the great details here. It's on their TikTok here, saying "say her name." But here, and this was posted January 17th, they say that their goal is 1,000 letters or more. It says, "Join our Youth March of Charlotte and Salisbury Teen Advisory Board, Team Ginspo Show, True Healing Under God, along with the family of Shanquella Robinson on Saturday, February 18th, 2023 at 12 noon, starting at Little Rock AME Zion Church, located in Charlotte, North Carolina at 401 North McDowell Street, Charlotte, North Carolina." They said, "We will march to the post office on McDowell Street to mail our letters of concerns to Mexico. Bring letters ready. The letters will be provided the day of the event." Sorry, guys, I'm sorry, I'm misreading this. It says, "Bring your letters ready. The addresses will be provided the day of the event." So they just want you to bring your letters, and they're going to give you the address and the details. So I would say bring your letters and your envelopes. "We are about our community, celebrating 10 years in the community, established to 2013. Official hashtag MOC Steens. Facebook, Million Youth March of Charlotte and Salisbury. Instagram is at My Youth MOCS Teens and at Youth MOCS Teens S2. And if you're not in the North Carolina area, I would message one of these here on the screen. They give you all the contact information for their Facebook, their Instagram, and their email. I would email them at mymocs@yahoo.com. I would email them your letter and tell them you're not in the North Carolina area, but you would like to participate in this 1,000 or more letters march to Mexico march, and see if they can just mail your letter on your behalf. So I would do that. If you're not in the North Carolina area, I would do that. I think it's a wonderful thing that they're doing this. However, I'm just going to give my little opinion. I think it's a wonderful thing to do. I was definitely talking about there needs to be some type of march. We need to do some type of movement. But I think the direction is right now, we're in the wrong direction. There is a march towards Mexico. But if you recall, I talked about a couple weeks ago about the Attorney General who is prosecuting this case in Mexico. And he discussed already, guys, that he has already done his part. He's already sent the extradition. And actually, we'll go back and talk about that, because one of the North Carolina news outlets have actually finally talked about the case. Yeah, we already talked about this. We were way ahead of the mainstream. We talked about this several weeks ago. If you're a subscriber to my channel, you already know about this. But the Charlotte news outlet finally covered the story January 17th, talking about it. And I'll read this article to you. We'll have to talk about this. But basically, essentially, Daniel de la Rosa Aña, who is the state prosecutor of Baja California Sur, he spoke about the investigation during a media news conference that we talked about a couple weeks ago. Essentially, Charlotte, North Carolina, the investigation into a Charlotte woman's death in Mexico is ongoing, and prosecutors say they are aiming to extradite to a suspect to the country. So my thing is, I feel like, even though I think this is a wonderful step in the right direction, we need to do something. It needs to be some type of action. I love that the family, Shanquella's family and parents are going to be doing this march so that everybody can submit their letters and mail it all to Mexico. But I think what we should be doing is sending all these letters to the FBI, because as Daniel de la Rosa Aña already stated in this news conference, that he's done his part. He submitted the extradition documents. He submitted all that he needs to submit. And all he's doing is waiting for the FBI in the United States to get back to him. He said he's also submitted requests for all of the Cabo Six to be interviewed so that he can do further investigation. Again, he's stating already that he's done his due diligence. So writing letters to Mexico, although I think it's a great thing that there's some action being done, and I really just applaud that. I feel like the direction needs to be towards the FBI. That's who we should be writing, because what can Mexico do? Mexico already sent the extradition. Even if we send all these letters to Mexico, it's just going to go into a waste bin, because they can't do anything until the United States responds to their extradition request. So, I mean, I don't feel like it's going to get too far, but I just appreciate the effort. So let's get into this. It says, during a media conference held by the Baja California Sur Attorney General's office, Daniel de la Rosa Aña, the state's attorney general, was asked to comment on the investigation surrounding Shanquella Robinson's death in October 2022 in the state. De la Rosa Aña said that they are investigating as a femicide and that they are focused on locating an unnamed suspect. The Attorney General says they have worked with Interpol to put out a red notice with an advisory to law enforcement across the globe to be on the lookout for the suspect. See, that's what Daniel de la Rosa is saying. He said, I already did my part. This is what I've done. I've sent out, the documentation to Interpol to look for this suspect. He says there is no impunity in this case. That's what Daniel de la Rosa said. He said, right now, it's important to obtain above all the judicial order of the presumed person responsible for these unfortunate events. De la Rosa Aña says they will work to extradite the suspect to Mexico once they are located. Now, again, he's done his part. There's nothing more he can do. He can't come into the United States and haul these people back to Mexico. He has to wait for the United States to respond. So although I think it's a wonderful thing, I really applaud the Millions Youth organization, because they have been the only organization, I feel like, I'm just giving my opinion, who've truly done overt actions to really help the Robinson family. For example, how they did that wonderful rally that they put together was so phenomenal. I talked about that on one of my videos several weeks ago. And now they're doing this march, but I feel like they should focus the march on sending these thousands of letters to the FBI. That's where all the volume should be at right now, because they're the one that's hauling this whole case. I don't even know if we're going to see any extraditions until next year. Probably not even. We'll get lucky if we see anything happen this year. It just looks like, I don't know what they're doing right now. Robinson died in Cabo San Lucas, Mexico, during a trip with a group of 6 friends on October 29th. Her family said the friends claimed it was because of alcohol poisoning. Mexican authorities have made it clear that this was not an accident, but a direct attack on Robinson. And that was only, guys, after the tape was released. So again, this article is making it look like Mexico's been in the right this whole time, and they really haven't. They have only come out and talked about this after the video was released. So let's not make Mexico look all good at this point. Despite various accounts of what happened to Robinson, a death certificate found she died 15 minutes after suffering a broken neck and severe spinal cord injury. Mexican authorities said in November 2022, they had an arrest warrant for an unnamed woman who was on the trip with Robinson. Now, this is all redundant, so I'm not going to keep reading this stuff. That development was shared with a disturbing video that circulated online. Robinson's own father confirmed it showed her being beat, likely sometime during the trip. Now, WCNC has chosen not to share the video, which is good. Now, they said that here's the key part that I really wanted to get into. FBI Charlotte stated in November 2022 that they had opened an investigation into Robinson's death as well. Chris Swecker, a retired FBI agent, this is where I wanted to focus on, previously told WCNC Charlotte there is a statute that gives the FBI and the State Department the ability to investigate the murder of a U.S. citizen in a foreign country at the hands of another U.S. citizen. But there are limitations. So that's what they're doing right now. They're investigating it. If the foreign country is willing to prosecute that individual, they will exercise that jurisdiction. Swecker said in November 2022, the other one is that the perpetrator is out of the country where the murder took place, and that country has no means of prosecuting or investigating the perpetrator. So that's just kind of where we are right now, is who's going to prosecute, but it looks like Mexico is interested in prosecuting. Let's take a look at this video, guys, from WCNC talking about this matter more in depth.
Offices are once again overrun with very sick patients, this time from 3 viruses instead of 1. COVID, the flu, and RSV, a virus particularly dangerous.
We can share some new details tonight, though, on the Mexican investigation into the death of a 25-year-old Charlotte woman while in Cabo.
Mexico prosecutors discussed their investigation into Shanquella Robinson's case during a recent news conference. Robinson went missing while vacationing in Mexico with a group of friends. She was later found dead, suffering a broken neck.
Hold on, guys. I'm going to play this again. Let me just play this again because I don't know what's going on. I know you guys could hear it, but for some reason, it's not allowing me to hear it, and I want to be able to hear it myself.
He says Mexican authorities are also investigating.
We can share some new details tonight, though, on the Mexican investigation.
Because I can't hear it. Okay, turn it up.
Discuss their investigation into Shanquella.
Hold on, guys. Let me
during a recent news conference.
Let me figure out what's going on with this because I don't think it's playing for you guys either. Yeah, it's
found dead, suffering a broken neck and a severe.
Ongoing, and that he's looking to extradite an unnamed suspect to the United States.
We can share some new details tonight, though, on the Mexican investigation into the death of a 25-year-old Charlotte woman while in Cabo.
Mexico prosecutors discussed their investigation into Shanquella Robinson's case during a recent news conference. Robinson went missing while vacationing in Mexico with a group of friends. She was later found dead, suffering a broken neck and a severe spinal cord injury. The state prosecutor from Baja California Sur says the investigation is ongoing and that he's looking to extradite an unnamed suspect to the United States. He says Mexican authorities are also investigating others who may have been involved beyond the single suspect.
There is no impunity in a case that is being fully investigated. Right now, it was important to obtain, above all, the judicial order of the presumed person responsible for these unfortunate events, but also other situations of criminal responsibility and complicity.
The prosecutor says the investigation is a collaboration with American authorities. He says federal investigators have requested interviews conducted by Mexican authorities of Robinson's friends who were with her on that trip.
And what's essential to know about that, guys, is that when the prosecutor said there is no impunity, means there's basically no plea bargaining or no shortcuts. They're not going to be alleviated of responsibility, basically. He's going to fully prosecute all those involved. But basically, I just wanted to, we already covered that part before, but I wanted to go over that again just to establish the fact that Mexico's saying, although they're going to be writing these thousands of letters and they're going to do a march all the way to the post office coming up February 18th. And you can see the flyer here. They're going to be doing that very soon. And it's a beautiful thing. You know, here's all the information. It's a beautiful thing that the family is doing. I feel like the resources can be channeled towards the FBI, because that's the organization that's pretty much where the investigation is stalled right now. And so we really need to focus on getting letters out to the FBI to get this investigation moving. At this point, Mexico can't do anything. And I do want to just acknowledge the reporter who asked that question of Daniel de la Rosa at the news conference when we talked about that before. We never really talked about her, but I do want to acknowledge her because she was the one who asked the question. And her name is here, it's pretty small, but her name is Xiomara Verdugo. I can't even say her name. Verdugo. Xiomara Verdugo. That's her name there. And she actually works for a news organization called Más Noticias BCS. That's where she works. She was the woman who set this whole thing, the whole question that pretty much went viral, basically, when we talked about it. That she, during this news conference with the prosecutor that's prosecuting the Cabos, or possibly prosecuting the Cabo 6, she was at that news conference and she was the reporter. Xiomara was the reporter from Más Noticias BCS. This young lady named here that wrote this article, and I'll read her article also. But she was the news reporter that asked the question of Daniel de la Rosa to say, hey, you know, what's going on with the prosecution of the American woman who was beaten here in Cabo, Mexico. And that's what led to Daniel de la Rosa giving us an updated status, saying that he's already, you know, sent all the appropriate documentation to America. He's even requested that all 6 of the Cabo 6 be interviewed. That's where that information came from, thanks to this reporter, Xiomara. But let's read her article. She wrote about this article. She wrote about this incident after she asked the question on that day. But she said, we asked the U.S. to capture and hand over the person responsible for the femicide of a tourist in SJC. These were the words of the prosecutor, Daniel de la Rosa. He's basically saying, we've already asked the U.S. to capture and hand over the person responsible for taking the life of Shanquella. We've done our part. There's nothing more we can do. That's what they're saying. That's why I'm saying I feel as though, although this wonderful march that's being done is incredible, I can't emphasize it enough that at least there's something being done. Like I was saying, there's something being done. They're doing this, the Million Youth March of Charlotte and Salisbury Teens Advisory are joining Robinson's family on Saturday, February 18th, 2023 at 12 noon, starting at the AM Zion Church, and they're going to be marching to the post office. I think it's amazing, on McDowell Street, to basically mail all these letters. And I think it's wonderful. You know, I think it's wonderful that they're coming together as a community. But as we review the circumstances here and that recent news conference that we talked about a couple weeks ago, I mean, the direction is we're directing these letters in the wrong direction. It should be towards the FBI. That is the organization that we should be focusing on, sending our letters to, protesting, calling, because they are the main source right now for why there is a delay. They are. So I want to read Xiomara's article, though. She wrote this January 13th, 2023. That was the day of the conference, the press conference. And that press conference, just to refresh your recollection, it was with Attorney General Daniel de la Rosa. And as you've seen on the screen, this is the leader, the state governor, Victor Manuel Castro Cosio. So Xiomara Verdugo, and it's good to follow her. I would recommend you follow her on Facebook. She has her news station is Más Noticias BCS, and her name is Xiomara, because she is another news reporter that's covering this case. It's not just the guy that we were talking about, Mr. Zuniga Gerardo. No, he's not the only one. There's other people in Mexico, for example, Xiomara Verdugo, who's covering this case. And she essentially said, Las Paz, Baja Sur, the governor of the state, Victor Manuel Castro Cosio, announced that he requested the support of the ambassador of the United States in Mexico, Ken Salazar, so that the neighboring country captures and delivers the South Californian authorities the woman identified as allegedly responsible for the murder of young American Shanquella Robinson, who last October was found deceased in a hotel in San Jose del Cabo. Now, this is something new, guys. Because when we talked about this before, we were talking about the statements of Daniel de la Rosa. I did not know that the governor actually said something too. This is actually a lot more significant, guys, that the governor himself of Mexico, Victor Manuel Castro, has said that he himself, the governor is involved, the Mexican governor is involved. He himself requested the support of the ambassador of the United States in Mexico, Ken Salazar, so that the neighboring country captures and delivers to the South Californian authorities the woman identified as allegedly responsible for the murder of young American Shanquella Robinson, who was last found in October. So that's significant. It's not only just the Attorney General of Mexico, the prosecutor himself, but it's also the governor. So this is pretty significant. And I'm glad we actually found her article because she gives us a little bit more information. And we're going to look up Ken Lee Salazar. We're going to look him up also after I read this article so we can read about him, because Ken Salazar is the ambassador of the United States. He is the one that the governor reached out to. The Mexican governor, Victor Manuel, reached out to was Ken Salazar. We'll look him up to see who he is. But the proposal was made during the most recent visit of the American to Los Cabos last December. And according to the president, there is very good willingness on the part of the ambassador. That's Ken Salazar here. We're going to look him up. And the U.S. consulate to follow up on the investigation of the case. They said there's good willingness. So what he is saying, they said the proposal was made during a most recent visit to of the American to Los Cabos. So this is significant too, guys. They're saying, and we talked about this a little bit briefly, but what happened recently in December, guys, was that the ambassador, there was a recent visit of the American to Los Cabos, and that was the ambassador. He came, he met with the governor and the U.S. consulate. They met up together in Los Cabos, and they talked about this investigation. And it looks like they were the U.S. Ambassador and the U.S. consulate, they were willing to work out and work in unison to get this process going. So before that press conference we talked about, there was another significant meeting that happened between the Mexican governor, and I'll show you Ken Salazar. Ken Salazar is this man here. Ken Salazar. Oh, sorry. I don't like that. Can you guys see that? Yeah, Ken Salazar is the man on the screen. He is an American lawyer, politician, and diplomat who is the United States ambassador to Mexico. This is the man that met with the governor. Let me see if you guys can see what I'm seeing. Okay, you guys cannot see what I'm seeing, so let me go ahead and share this part of it, because we want to talk about him too. Ken Lee Salazar was the individual back in December. He met with the Mexican governor, Victor, and they talked about the Shanquella Robinson case, and there was a meeting of the minds, and they both were willing to cooperate with extraditing this young lady. That's what the governor of Mexico, of California, Baja Sur, is stating in this article, okay? But let's look up who Kenneth is. So Kenneth Lee Salazar is an American lawyer, politician, and diplomat who is the United States ambassador to Mexico. He previously served as the 50th United States Secretary of the Interior in the administration of President Barack Obama from 2009 to 2013. He is a member of the Democratic Party. He previously was a United States Senator from Colorado from 2005 to 2009, and he and Mel Martinez, a Republican, were the first Hispanic U.S. senators in 1977. They were joined by Bob Menendez, who is a Democrat from New Jersey, in 2006. Prior to his election to the United States Senate, he served as an Attorney General of Colorado. So this individual here, he is the United States ambassador. This man here met with the governor. Okay, he met with the governor of Mexico, California, Baja Sur. Okay, that's significant. That happened in December. After that, and after that happened, the indication was that the proposal was made during the most recent visit of the American to Los Cabos last December. And according to the president, there is a very good willingness on the part of the ambassador, that's who we just talked about, and the U.S. consulate to follow up on the investigation of the case. That was in December. Well, we're almost into January, not much progress. But now in January, this was when they had the news conference. The governor of California, Baja Sur, Victor Manuel Castro Castillo, here on the screen, he met with Daniel de la Rosa. They had a press conference that we talked about. And for his part, the state attorney general, Daniel de la Rosa, Anya, recalled that there is already a judicial order for the crime of femicide against this person. Also, the red file of Interpol was requested of migratory alert for entry and exit of the country, as well as immediate extradition with the support of Attorney General's office. So everybody in Mexico, the individuals that could expedite this case already have done their part. That is what they're saying. The governor has stated what he has done. He said he's met with the United States ambassador. That was Ken Salazar. I just showed you him. The attorney general is saying he's already sent the documents to in the red files of Interpol. He's done his part. So, like I said, I applaud the march to the post office that's coming up, that the family's doing, but I think the direction is wrong. It should be towards FBI. Focus on FBI because they're the one that's taking their time, not really moving the case. I feel like the injustice is happening here in America. Although Mexico started with the injustice, y'all, we're not letting them off the hook. It started with them. This would have never been, this case would have never even been looked at, but for the video being released. But at this point, Mexico's already done their part. It takes the United States now to do its part. In addition, the state attorney general said he mentioned that possible omissions or criminal authorships are being investigated around the facts. So a series of interviews of the friends of the victim who are presumed witnessed the aggression against the woman were also requested according to the video broadcast on social networks. And we talked about that a couple weeks ago. So what Daniel de la Rosa was saying is that he has requested that all Cabo 6 who witnessed this fight against Shanquella be interviewed. It was important to have the order of the alleged perpetrator, but also for omissions or even situation of criminal authorship of complicity. It is being investigated. So basically what he's saying there is that if there was anybody who omitted or held or hid this criminal activity, basically by, i.e. lying about what happened, lying to authorities, claiming there was alcohol poisoning, when in fact it was really this woman was beat to death, like that's an omission because they held that information. He's basically saying he's looking into all that, and if they were complicit in this crime, they also will be held accountable. He said that's also being investigated. That's what he says here. He said it is being investigated. So that tells me that he's going to be looking into all Cabo 6 to see if they were compliant, if they withheld criminal activity by lying to authorities and trying to cover up the crime. That's called an omission. And that's being complicit in a criminal act, and he's investigating that. And in fact, some interviews of international collaboration have also been requested from the U.S. authorities so that the interviews of the friends who are related to the unfortunate event were sent. That was this very important last paragraph here. He assured that there will be no impunity in the case, which is investigated objectively. That means without any bias and comprehensively in collaboration with the U.S. authorities. So he's saying he's going full force into this, as we talked about before. And I'm sorry to repeat this, but I needed to go over this because it goes hand in hand with what the family's doing now. I feel like it all needs to be talked about. And you just need to know, when he says no impunity, he's saying no exemption from punishment or freedom from injurious consequences from what they did. He's looking at everybody. Like you said, he's looking at whether anybody engaged in any type of omissions or authorship of complicity. So this is powerful words here. Now, but like I said, we needed to go over that because of what's going on now, which again, I applaud the effort. I applaud it 100%. We need to do something, guys, to make the voice heard. This is a wonderful time to get the family's name out there again. I'm pretty sure there's going to be a lot of publicity about this that's going to be happening. So I'm very happy that they're doing this. And this is the flyer for it that I'm showing you on the screen. So I think it's really wonderful. And they posted this just last week. Yeah, just last week on Tuesday. So I think it's wonderful what they're doing, guys. Marching to the post office on McDowell Street to mail our letters of concern to Mexico. Bring your letters ready to address will be provided the day of the event. It's wonderful, right? But like I said, the focus needs to be on the FBI. That's the only thing I'm saying to add. Send these letters to the FBI because they're the one that's holding up the case. The U.S. ambassador already met with the Mexico governor of California, Baja Sur. They have a willingness to work together, the U.S. official and the governor. The attorney general has already done his part in Mexico. What we're waiting for is the FBI. What is the FBI doing? So I think we need to turn up the heat in the right direction. Turn up the heat. Send thousands of letters to the FBI. That's who we need to inundate. To say what's going on with the case, what's the progress. It's taking way too long. And I know we need to be patient. I understand that this process takes time. I already know the whole process and we've gone over that. But I'm saying at some point in time, we need to figure out what's the progress. And I know that the FBI doesn't disclose a lot of information, but they should at least give something, okay? Because it's just causing a lot of frustration. But I do admire what they're doing here. I think it's really a wonderful thing. And I really admire the family's efforts. This is beautiful that they're taking this very, the significant step to march. I love the fact that they're marching to say her name, marching for Shanquella with letters. I think that's powerful. I love the gesture. I just wish the gesture was directed at the U.S. because the U.S. at this point is what's causing the delay. Mexico authorities are saying, we already did our part. What else can we do? You could send us all these letters, but nothing's going to happen until the FBI moves the case down the appropriate channels that it needs to move it. And I'm still questioning what more are they investigating? I mean, it could be, here's the problem too. Now, the Attorney General said that he has submitted requests that all of the Cabo 6 be interviewed. In America, individuals are afforded the constitutional right. They can plead the fifth. All of these Cabo 6 are represented by attorneys. So you better believe the attorneys have already advised them because they will incriminate themselves if they're interviewed. Those attorneys advise them to plead the fifth that they don't want to speak to the authorities, which means that is what causes the delay. Because I'm pretty sure the only person that has already confirmed they spoke to the FBI was Nazir. But we don't have any information about the other Cabo 6 individuals or Cabo 5 individuals because Nazir said he already talked to the FBI. They cleared his name allegedly. But again, I don't think they cleared his name. I think they just got information from him. But if the other Cabo 5 individuals are not speaking to the FBI because they plead the fifth and they're represented by attorneys, well, that's going to put a significant delay in the case because they're not getting information from them. So that means the FBI has to work around about a way of getting the same evidence, but get more circumstantial evidence versus direct evidence. So that is what's possibly causing a delay because some of those Cabo 5 now, because I'm saying Cabo 5 because one of the Cabo 6 individuals have been interviewed allegedly. That's what his mother said, Nazir's mother alleged. So the other Cabo 5 are probably, we don't know if they've even spoke to the FBI or are willing to. And like I said, they're more than likely represented by attorneys. They all lawyered up allegedly. So I don't think the FBI is going to get much out of those individuals, which can also lead to a delay in the FBI's investigation. But still, I'm just frustrated, okay? All right, let me know what you guys think about this information. One more time, I want to say this information again, just for any individuals who wish to go. If you are not in North Carolina, like I said, all hope is not gone. I would just email my mocs@yahoo.com. Email that email address, or you can use their Instagram, my youth MOCS teens, or MOCS teens, or youth MOCS teens S2 Instagram, or the Facebook here, Million Youth March of Charlotte and Salisbury. I would just message one of those that I provided here on the screen with your letter and say, hey, I don't live in the North Carolina area, but I would like to submit a letter to participate. Would you mind mailing my letter along with the rest of them when you do the march for Shanquella to the post office, to the 1,000 or more letters to Mexico march. Sorry, guys, 1,000 or more letters to Mexico march. That would be great, so that all of us can participate, because not all of us are in the North Carolina area, but I'm pretty sure everybody would love to get a letter. I think they should open it up to the national audience, because there's people across the U.S. that really want to take part in this. So that's the only thing too I would say, is that I know they want to make it a community thing in North Carolina, but there's people across the United States that care about Shanquella, and we all want to see Shanquella get justice. So I really, would hope that this organization would open these type of outreach programs and justice advocacy to individuals across the United States, because there's people that all want to take part in seeing that justice gets served for Shanquella Robinson. Okay, I know I'm not the only one. I know all of you guys cared for her as just as much as I do. All right, guys, let me know what you think about all of these updates. Let me know if you plan to participate. Let me know what you think about the 1,000 or more 1,000 or more letter. It's a tongue tie, guys. 1,000 or more letter Mexico March movement that's going to be happening February 18th. Will you be participating? Do you think we should be focusing on sending it to Mexico, or do you think we should focus sending these letters to the FBI? What do you think it would be a effective way to move this case along and advocate on a grander scale for Shanquella? All right, thank you guys. Be polite in the comments. That's all I ask. Please do not refer to any other YouTubers in the comments, or I will have to remove your comment. Please do not use any profanity. And just remember just to state your opinion with dignity and grace, just kindness. We all may not agree with one another, but you can disagree with grace. All right, take care, guys. Toodaloo.